He wasn't barking. He wasn't running. He was just waiting, sitting there on the shoulder of Highway 9 with his little paws pressed together like he was praying. I didn't know it then, but that puppy had been doing that for 3 days straight. Every time a car passed, he stood up. Every time they drove by, he sat back down. Until I came along. It was just past dawn, that thin gray light that makes everything look a little unreal. I'd been patrolling the back roads for almost 12 years by then, and I'd seen plenty of strays. But this one was different. He wasn't scared. He wasn't looking for scraps. He was asking for something, and the way he looked at me, when I slowed down, God, it still gets me. His eyes weren't wild. They were clear, focused, like he'd been waiting for me specifically. I pulled over and cut the engine. The morning was so quiet, I could hear my boots on the gravel. The puppy didn't move, didn't flinch, just watched me with those big brown eyes, ears forward, body trembling, not from fear, but from exhaustion. He couldn't have been more than 3 months old. German Shepherd, skinny, muddy. His little chest was rising and falling fast, like he'd been running. I crouched down about 6 feet away, kept my voice soft. Hey buddy, you okay? That's when he did it again. Rose up on his back legs, paws pressed together, head tilted slightly, like he was trying to tell me something without words. I'd never seen anything like it. It wasn't a trick. It wasn't trained behavior. It was desperation dressed up like a plea. I moved closer, slowly. My knees cracked as I knelt in the gravel. He didn't back away. Instead, he crept forward, just a few inches, and let out this soft, broken little whine. Then he reached out with one paw and tugged at my pant leg. Not aggressive, gentle, insistent. What is it, boy? I whispered. He turned, started trotting away from me, maybe 10 feet. Then he stopped, looked back over his shoulder, waited. I didn't move. He whined again, louder this time. Then he took a few more steps, stopped and looked back again. His whole body was tense. His tail wasn't wagging. It was low, stiff, like every instinct in him was screaming that something was wrong. That's when I realized, this wasn't about him. I stood up, my stomach tightened. All right, I said quietly. Show me. He bolted, not far, just 20, maybe 30 yards toward a cluster of scrub brush and a utility pole standing alone near the edge of the road. He kept checking behind him, making sure I was following. Every few seconds he'd slow down, wait for me to catch up, then move again, leading me, guiding me. My heart started pounding. I'd been a cop long enough to know what that kind of behavior meant. Animals don't act like that unless something's really wrong. The closer we got, the more I could feel it. That heaviness in the air. That sick knot in your chest when you know you're about to see something you can't unsee. The puppy stopped at the base of the pole, sat down, and looked up at me like he was saying, please, hurry. I took a breath, stepped around the brush, and then I saw her. She was tied to the pole, rope around her neck, pulled so tight I could see the raw skin underneath. An adult German Shepherd, soaked through from the rain, ribs showing, head hanging low. And over her face, taped around her muzzle and ears, was a black plastic bag. My stomach dropped. She was barely moving. The puppy ran to her immediately, pressed his body against her front legs, whining, nudging her chest with his nose like he was trying to wake her up. She didn't respond, didn't lift her head, just stood there, swaying slightly, like she was holding on by a thread. I didn't think. I just moved. It's okay, I said, even though I wasn't sure it was. I've got you. I've got you, both. I reached for the bag first. My hands were shaking. The tape was wound tight, cutting into her fur. I had to peel it back carefully, piece by piece, trying not to hurt her more than she'd already been hurt. The puppy watched me the whole time. Didn't make a sound, just stood there, pressed against her, like he was holding her up. When the bag finally came off, she gasped, a shallow, ragged breath. Her eyes opened barely, and for a second she looked right at me. Not with fear, with something else. Relief maybe, or just exhaustion so deep it had burned through everything else. Her coat was matted, dirt and blood caked around her neck, where the rope had cut in. She'd been here for days. I could see it in the way her legs trembled, the way her ribs pressed against her skin, the way she didn't even try to pull away when I touched her. The puppy nudged her again, softer this time, like he was saying, see, I told you. Someone came. I grabbed my radio. My voice cracked when I called it in. Dispatch. I need animal control out here. Highway 9, mile marker 14. I've got an adult dog tied to a pole, severely neglected, possible abuse, and a puppy. Send someone now. Static. Then a voice. Copy that. Unit unripped. 12 minutes. 12 minutes felt like forever. I knelt down next to her. Tried to loosen the rope, but it was knotted too tight. I didn't want to pull and make it worse, so I just stayed there. Talked to her. Told her help was coming. Told her she was safe now. The puppy never left her side. Not once. He curled up against her chest, his little head resting on her leg, and he just waited. Like he'd been doing all along. I looked at him, really looked at him, and something broke open in my chest. This puppy had been running back and forth to that highway for days, standing on his back legs, begging strangers to stop, and every time they didn't, he went back to her, stayed with her, kept her alive. He didn't run away to save himself. He ran away to save her. I reached out slowly. He flinched at first, but then he let me rest my hand on his head. His fur was cold and damp. He leaned into my palm just a little, like he was finally letting go of the weight he'd been carrying. "You're a good boy," I whispered. "You're such a good boy." In the distance, I heard sirens. The puppy's ears perked up. He looked at me, then at the road, then back at his mother, and I realized something that would haunt me for weeks. He didn't know if she was going to make it, but he'd done everything he could to give her a chance. The rescue van pulled up within minutes, but it felt like hours. 2 techs jumped out, Sarah, who I'd worked with before, and a younger guy I didn't recognize. They took one look at the scene, and their faces went pale. "Jesus," Sarah muttered. She moved fast, dropping her kit beside the mother dog. "How long has she been here?" "I don't know," I said. "Days maybe. The puppy's been trying to flag down cars." She looked at the puppy, then back at the mother. Her jaw tightened. "Let's get this rope off first." The younger tech pulled out bolt cutters, while Sarah stabilized the dog's head. The mother didn't resist, didn't even flinch. She just stood there, eyes half closed, breathing in shallow gasps. When the rope finally snapped free, she swayed, her legs buckled, and Sarah caught her before she hit the ground. "Easy, mama, easy." The puppy scrambled forward, whining, pressing his nose against her face. He was frantic now, pawing at her, licking her muzzle, trying to get her to respond. She didn't. Sarah's hands moved quickly, checking vitals, examining the wounds. The rope had cut deep into the mother's neck, raw, infected skin underneath. Her gums were pale, dehydrated, malnourished. Her ribs jutted out like a xylophone. "She's in bad shape," Sarah said quietly. "We need to get her to the clinic." Now, they brought out a stretcher, a soft canvas sling, and carefully lifted her onto it. The mother's eyes opened briefly. She looked at the puppy, just for a second, and then her head dropped back down. The puppy followed as they carried her toward the van. He stayed right at the edge of the stretcher, whining, his little body tense and shaking. When they loaded her into the back, he tried to jump in after her. Sarah caught him gently. "Whoa, buddy, you're coming too. Don't worry." But he wasn't listening. He was staring at his mother, his ears pinned back, his whole body trembling. He didn't understand why they were taking her away. He didn't understand that this was help. I stepped forward, knelt down beside him. "Hey," I said softly. "She's going to be okay. I promise." He looked up at me, those big brown eyes filled with something I can only describe as heartbreak. And then he did something I'll never forget. He turned back toward the pole, walked over to it, sat down in the exact spot where she'd been tied, like he was waiting for her to come back. Sarah's voice cracked. "We need to take him too." I nodded, picked him up carefully. He didn't fight me, didn't struggle, just went limp in my arms, his little head resting against my chest. I could feel his heart racing. I climbed into the back of the van with them. The mother was lying on her side, breathing slowly. Sarah had an IV in her leg, fluids running. The puppy wriggled out of my arms the second I sat down and pressed himself against her chest. He laid his head on her ribs, closed his eyes, and for the first time since I'd found him, he stopped shaking. The clinic was chaos. Vets moved fast, voices clipped and urgent. They took the mother straight into the back. The puppy tried to follow, but a tech gently scooped him up. "We'll take care of him," she said. "You can wait out here." I sat in the waiting room for 2 hours. Couldn't leave. Didn't want to. I kept seeing that puppy's face. The way he looked at me when they loaded his mother into the van. The way he sat down at that pole, waiting. Finally, Sarah came out. She looked exhausted. "She's stable," she said. "Barely. Another day out there, and she didn't finish. Didn't need to." "What about the puppy?" "He's okay. Dehydrated. Underweight. But he's tough." She paused. "He won't eat though." "What do you mean?" "We tried to feed him. He won't touch it. Just sits by the door to the recovery room and whines. She shook her head. He's waiting for her. My chest tightened. Can I see him? She nodded. They led me to a small room in the back. The puppy was curled up on a blanket near the door, his nose pointed toward the crack underneath. The second he saw me, his ears perked up. He stood, walked over slowly. I knelt down. He pressed his head into my hand. She's going to be okay, I whispered. Because of you. He looked up at me, and I swear in that moment he understood. I stayed with him until visiting hours ended, and when I finally left, I made a decision. I was coming back, every single day. I came back the next morning before my shift started. Brought a coffee for Sarah and a bag of treats I wasn't even sure the puppy would touch. He was in the same spot, curled up by that door, nose pressed to the crack, waiting. When he saw me, his tail gave one weak thump against the floor. Not excitement, just acknowledgement. Like he was saying, "You came back." "Hey buddy," I said quietly, sitting down cross-legged on the floor beside him. "How's she doing?" Sarah appeared in the doorway, clipboard in hand. She looked better than yesterday, less frantic. She made it through the night. That's a good sign. Can he see her? She hesitated. She's still weak. We don't usually. Sarah, please. She looked at the puppy, at me. Then she sighed. 5 minutes. That's it. We went into the recovery room together. It was small, dim, with 2 kennels along the wall. The mother was in the larger one, lying on a thick blanket. An IV was still taped to her leg. Her eyes were closed, but her chest rose and fell steadily. The puppy froze when he saw her. Then he bolted, straight to the kennel door, stood up on his back legs, paws pressed against the wire mesh, whining soft, desperate pleading sounds. His whole body trembled. The mother's eyes opened. Slowly, barely, but they opened. And when she saw him, something shifted. Her head lifted, just an inch. Her tail moved once. Twice. Sarah unlocked the kennel door. "Go ahead, little man." The puppy rushed inside, pressed his body against hers, licked her face, her ears, her neck. She didn't pull away, didn't tense, just closed her eyes again and let him burrow into her side. And for the first time in days, she looked peaceful. I stood there watching, my throat tight. Sarah was beside me, arms crossed, trying not to cry. "He kept her alive," she said quietly. "You know that, right?" "What do you mean?" "We've been piecing it together. Based on her condition, the exposure, the dehydration, she was out there at least 4, maybe 5 days." Sarah's voice wavered. "That puppy never left her side except to run to the road. He was bringing her water. We found puddles near the pole. He'd been carrying it in his mouth somehow, letting it drip onto her face." My stomach clenched, and every time a car passed, he'd run out there, stand up, beg them to stop, then go back to her when they didn't. She shook her head. "He didn't leave to escape. He left to find help. Over and over again. Until you stopped." I couldn't speak. I just stared at that puppy curled up against his mother, his little head resting on her chest, and I felt something crack wide open inside me. "He saved her," Sarah said. "Not us. Him." Over the next 2 weeks, I visited every day, sometimes twice, before work, after work. Didn't matter. The mother, who the staff started calling Mama, improved slowly. She could stand on her own by day 3, eat small portions by day 5. By the end of the 2nd week, she was walking short distances, her tail wagging softly when the puppy came near. But the puppy, they'd started calling him Hero, though I just called him Buddy, still wouldn't eat unless he could see her. Every single time they'd bring him food, he'd ignore it, stand by the door, whine, and only when they let him into her kennel would he finally take a few bites. "He's loyal," one of the vets said. "Border on obsessive. But loyal." I didn't see it as obsessive. I saw it as love. On day 16, Sarah found me in the waiting room. "She's ready," she said. "Ready for what?" "Adoption. She's healthy enough now. Cleared by the vet. We've already got a family interested. Older couple, small farm upstate, quiet, calm, perfect for her." I nodded. That was good. She deserved that. "And the puppy?" I asked. Sarah smiled, handed me a folder. "That's why I wanted to talk to you." I opened it. Inside was an adoption application, half filled out, my name at the top. "We already ran your background," she said. "You're approved, if you want him." I looked up, through the window into the recovery room. The puppy was sitting by Mama's kennel, his head tilted, watching her sleep. "He trusts you," Sarah said quietly. "And I think you need him too." I didn't realize I was crying until I felt the tears on my face. "Yeah," I whispered. Yeah, I want him. The day I brought him home, he cried for 3 hours straight. Not loud, not wild, just this soft, broken whimpering that came from somewhere deep. He'd walk from room to room, nose to the floor, searching. Then he'd sit by the door and wait. He was looking for her. I sat down on the floor beside him, didn't say anything, just let him lean against me, while he tried to make sense of a world where his mother wasn't there anymore. She's safe, I whispered. I promise you. She's got a good home, people who'll take care of her. I don't know if he understood the words, but after a while he stopped whining, rested his head on my knee, and fell asleep. That was the moment I knew. He'd chosen to trust me. The first few weeks were hard. He wouldn't sleep in the dog bed I bought him, wouldn't eat unless I sat with him, followed me everywhere. Kitchen, bathroom, front porch. If I left the house, even for 10 minutes, he'd be waiting by the door when I got back. Tail wagging so hard his whole body shook. Sarah called it separation anxiety. I called it trauma. But slowly things shifted. He started eating on his own, started playing with the toys I left scattered around, started sleeping through the night without waking up in a panic. And then one morning, about 6 weeks in, I woke up to find him curled up at the foot of my bed. Not on the floor, not by the door, on the bed, like he'd finally decided this was home. By the time he was 6 months old, he wasn't that scared little puppy anymore. He was strong, smart, focused. He'd watch me with this intensity that was almost unnerving, like he was always thinking, always calculating. One afternoon, I was out in the yard tossing a ball for him when my neighbor, an old K9 trainer named Frank, leaned over the fence. "That's a sharp dog you got there," he said. "Yeah, he's something." Frank watched him for a minute. The way he tracked the ball, the way he didn't just chase it. He anticipated where it would land. Cut the angle. Got there faster. "You ever think about training him?" I laughed. "For what?" "Apps police. Work." Frank nodded toward the puppy. "He's got the drive. The focus, and from what you told me about how you found him." He paused. "That dog doesn't quit. That's what you need in a K9. I looked at the puppy. He was sitting at my feet now, ball in his mouth, staring up at me, waiting for the next command. Frank was right. This dog didn't quit. I enrolled him in a K9 training program 2 months later. Basic obedience first. Then scent work, tracking, apprehension. He excelled at all of it. Not just excelled, dominated. The trainers were stunned. They said he had instincts they usually didn't see until a dog was 2 or 3 years old. He could read body language, detect stress, find hidden objects in minutes. And the whole time, he kept that same intensity, that same focus. Like he'd been preparing for this his whole life. 3 years later, I was back on Highway 9, same stretch of road, same early morning mist, but this time, I wasn't alone. He was sitting in the passenger seat, 65 pounds of muscle and loyalty, a K9 vest strapped across his chest, badge number gleaming in the dim light. We'd just finished a call, tracked down a missing kid who'd wandered off into the woods, found her in 20 minutes, brought her back to her parents safe. As we drove past mile marker 14, I slowed down. The utility pole was still there, weathered, forgotten. He turned his head, looked out the window, his ears perked up. I don't know if he remembered. Dogs don't hold on to memories the way we do, but I did. I remembered the way he stood on his back legs, paws pressed together, the way he led me to that pole, the way he stayed by his mother's side, even when it would have been easier to run. "You saved her," I said quietly, "and you saved me too." He looked at me, tilted his head, then leaned over and rested his chin on my arm. We sat there for a moment, just the two of us. The road stretched out ahead, endless, quiet, and then I put the car in gear, because we had work to do. That day, a puppy begged a cop for help, not for himself, but for his mother. And because one officer listened, 2 lives were saved, and one hero was born.